Luciano.
Hi.
We're here today. Thanks for taking time out of your day to chat to me for this green room interview. It's a bit of a tradition. I ask people to slate the start of the. It just gives me a perfect sync point to start the interview. We're here in his amazing rehearsal space. As I look around, there's some proper vintage equipment here from, the 80s and 90s, and we'll go over that later when we chat about the band projects he's involved in. Luciano, do you want to tell us about the two bands that people know you for? That's Turqoise Days and the Parazone.
Yes.
Just tell us how they got started, what got you into music.
Okay. I sort of got into music with my dad, really. I think he used to be a big Frank Sinatra fan, but that's not where it started. It started with his Elvis and Little Richard things that he had on vinyl as well.
Birth of rock and roll.
Yeah, and sort of developed from there, onto the Beatles, plus obviously guilty pleasures of pop as well, here and there.
That's right.
Into glam rock, which was then, T-Rex, Bowie and Roxy. Then
heading towards the punk era.
Then rock, there was like Zeppelin, Pink Floyd.
Of course,
Yes, and then moving on then to the punk rock era, which was Pistols, Clash, and all the other bands. Then moving on to new wave after that with Joy Division and all the post-punk bands, right through to the 90s with like Radiohead.
Yes.
And all the others coming through to today with Arcade Fire and other new bands. So I kind of listened to quite an eclectic mix, and even throughout that period, listening to things like dub, reggae, world music, like Amadou and Miriam and all sorts of stuff, really.
Yeah, but Turqoise Days.
Yeah.
So listen to that now, it sounds so good.
It still sounds fresh, even though it was recorded fairly basically.
Yeah.
Apart from the single, the A-side and the B-side, which is slightly a bit more sophisticated.
Yeah.
The whole thing was very basic,
but
really.
That's the charm, isn't it, of that
era. Yeah.
The limitations of the equipment and the recording process produced the sound.
Yes,
that was the sound, and that's why people liked it. It's got character, and you were there the first time round. You were doing it for real. You weren't making 80s music to make it sound like that style. That's what the technology dictated.
That was what we did. Was we met in about 1981, and it was a duo. And we originally just started with the bass and the guitar, cheap bass and a guitar. Then adding keyboards, which was only basic keyboards like this Casio MT30 I mentioned.
Yeah.
Which was then augmented when I bought the SH101.
Yeah.
And eventually, Dave also bought a kit synth, which I think New Order had as well, which was a Transcendent 2000.
Some of these names are just awesome.
Which he was going to build himself, but they had a demo one which was already built, which they sold cheaper.
Yeah.
So
I won't spend 12 months building that.
Yeah, 12 months building it.
But I mean, a lot of the the early electronic instruments were like kit bashed, weren't they? They were kind of, you're literally listening to an oscillator in some of the early especially Kraftwerk, who were pioneering that. You are literally hearing white noise as a snare sound, and like a massive kind of high pass filter. We did on
some earlier recordings. He did a snare manually, Dave. On one of his on one of the tracks, he was just hitting the keyboard.
That's right.
With like a crashing white sound.
Gate. That's the sound.
Yeah.
But and then we hear drum machines like the TR-8, 707, 808, 909.
The first drum machine we had was like a little analog thing that people would have used with like a Hammond organ. Yeah, so it had Bossa Nova, Samba. It was just a little box with all of those.
That's right.
And we found a way of pressing two buttons at once, so you had a combination of Bossa Nova and Samba.
I mean, just if anyone's out there listening to this, Grey Skies, I think, is the track that people go to when they think of Turqoise Days, and it's so good.
There's YouTube, but all of these, the Minimal Wave label has put them on Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, so they're all on there, basically.
You can get your Apple Music and Spotify and listen to these.
You can listen to them all on there. And like Grey Skies is obviously at the top.
Yes.
Blurred is probably the next one, which is the B-side, which that one features guitar as well. It's a bit heavier. We're the only band in Jersey doing that sound, and we used to get quite a good following. We did the Art Centre before it opened in the bar area.
Wow, I can
which was
imagine.
packed out.
I
in
can
a few
imagine.
other places.
I mean, now people are making music to sound like 80s.
Yes.
They're kind of a retro revival thing.
Yeah, like the Weeknd's new track.
I guess, and it's kind of easy to make. It's easier now to make 80s music than it was then. So I kind of maximum respect for people who were knocking this stuff out in that era with the equipment limitations.
We only recorded on a reel-to-reel, Sony reel-to-reel, and it was only a stereo one.
Yeah.
So it was all recorded in mono. We recorded on the left-hand side.
Okay.
And then I added some vocals in on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Then we went back to left-hand side, added some extra guitar, and then went back to the right-hand side, added more vocals in. So
that's so good,
and until it was finished, and we didn't want too many, so we did as much of it on the first side, on the left-hand side, to start with, so you didn't get too much hiss.
Okay.
Because every time you go back, you're adding hiss.
You add a little bit more.
And also, when you go back, the volume gets quieter on the original one.
Yeah.
So we had to pitch it so the original one was louder to start with.
Are you listening to this, all you Logic users? Yeah. But now you have to pay extra for a tape plug-in to get that sound.
Yeah, the sound, the analog sound,
We'll just bounce it through the tape just to degrade all of our £20,000 microphones.
That's right.
I love that.
I think 2 of those tracks have only just been released. They were on the extended version of the album.
Yeah.
Which is like Tonight and One Day. And One Day, I don't think we'd ever released that before.
Yeah, I love it. The drum machine sound that that kind of arpeggio bass, it's just all there, and it was real. You know, you were doing it for real the first time round.
Using the 606, I think it was drum machine. It was called the Dramatics.
God, these are names I've heard, and you're just triggering all these memories. It's fantastic. So I'm going to get through these sort of questions that I ask everyone.
Yeah.
And it's so do you have a specific band or artist that made you want to play an instrument or sing? Or
Probably similar, the same as most of the. I've looked at all the punk things in interviews, and it always seems to be the same person, which was the same as me as well, almost. Which was that appearance of David Bowie, in doing Starman on TV, which was like
just iconic on so many levels. And he's one of those people as artists that just sort of every 10 years sort of reinvented himself.
Exactly, yeah.
But he was right on the cutting edge. He understood fashion and art and all pop culture. He was rightly dialed in, wasn't he?
He did, yeah. And then with the punk explosion as well, myself and Dave, we weren't really musicians, but we sort of channeled as much as we could to becoming musicians, really. That ethos that anyone can do it if you put your mind to it.
So David Bowie,
David Bowie, then there was all the punk bands that came out at the time, sort of Sex Pistols, Clash and the like. We were going more industrial at that point. Punk was kind of just simmering down, and going more towards Joy Division and Echo and the Bunnymen and The Cure, more that sort of area, really. That's where we were going into. See, obviously with the Parazone, the influences are so different. So mine is I've got the more modern influence. Yeah. And then Chris is obviously more cutting edge as well on boutique effects and things as well. Yeah. He likes his own sound, but he's more rock. Yep. More traditional rock, really. And then Terry was more sort of Pink Floyd, Genesis. Effectively, Genesis is his favourite band, so those sort of influences come through. So my songwriting is more direct, like Turqoise Days, and then Terry brings in a bit of Genesis,
so
Hammond organ, and
channeling his Tony Banks there.
His Tony Banks,
Terry.
a little bit.
Nice to hello Terry. If you're.
I think Wild Dolphins is the one. I've had kids come up to me at this Peas and Gloves saying, "Look, it sounded a bit like Genesis."
Well, there you go.
I said, "Well, probably,
yeah."
There's a possible hint of it there.
There's a little bit going on.
I understand. And Chris has got he's very rock and sort of his guitar sounds. I have to turn him down a bit here and there.
You've got a gorgeous setup. I'm just looking around the room here. There's all sorts of.
So that's my old Turqoise Days valve amp, the Vox.
Oh, the Vox. The Beatles use those, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And U2, Queen.
Couple of gig questions. What's the best gig you've been to as an audience member?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
It's a good one. You go to loads.
I go to loads every year, so that's a tricky one.
Let's have one.
But
one of the
decade. One of the best ones was. One of the best ones was. The one we went to at the Albert Hall a few years ago, which was Iggy Pop.
Oh, right.
And that was very good.
Yeah.
He was playing with that made-up band with the guys from the Queens of the Stone Age. Oh. And obviously when I was at university, I saw the Stranglers just before their first album came out.
Bar.
Student Union Bar, supported by the Damned and this R&B band, the Count Bishops. That was a memorable gig. Yeah. I've seen a few of the greats. There's a few I've sort of missed, which I've regretted, but I think Bob Marley I saw as well, and
Crikey.
Pink Floyd, they were good, but I never saw Led Zeppelin.
Right, yeah, I mean...
It's a tricky one.
Just iconic artists.
Iconic.
Yeah, next question, best gig you've played?
Oh, that's a tricky one as well. There's some Turqoise Days ones that were very good. I seem to remember one at the Royal Hotel, which I really enjoyed.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know whether it was the best we played, but I really enjoyed it.
We've
done a few which we've really enjoyed. With the Parazone, I think the last one... although technically not the best, was good actually. The one at the Weekender was really good.
I was going to ask, we've seen you at many festivals and the music venues.
And a slightly different lineup on the bass and drums. So now we've got Dave Medder on bass, who used to play in Eclipse with Terry.
Of course, I remember that.
And he's like professional bass player more or less, and he's been playing for years.
Yeah.
His guitar's older than most people.
Fantastic.
And he fits in just right in that sort of way. And his bass playing is good.
Yeah. It's all about feel. I mean, it starts
the feel,
with the songs.
So the actual gig, although technically it didn't reproduce as it did before, the old band that had recorded the songs reproduced them technically note for note.
Cool. And we're going to talk about equipment. And first off, do you have a favourite piece of equipment? Is it a guitar, or that forms part of your live rig?
Yeah, I mean, there's two guitars I use live, which are the two favourites really. One's the Nash Jazzmaster, which has got quite a nice clean tone, and it can be crunchy as well. And the pickups are very good. They're like custom Lola ones that come with the guitar.
Okay.
Although it can be noisy, which is why I had to buy noise suppressor pedals.
I mean, it looks totally vintage.
I know.
Which suits your look.
It's got the look. It's sort of hand assembled using Fender parts by Graham Nash, and they were the two new wave in the sort of late 80s. They were the guitar of choice because they were cheaper in those days, whereas now the vintage ones worth quite a lot.
So what tone would you use when you're with electronic music? How would the guitar feature? What would you be? Are you just playing like block chords, power chords, or is it you? On
the electronic one, no, I was playing more single notes. So in Turqoise days I was using the Yamaha SG-1000, a very good quality Japanese guitar, and it had coil taps as well, which meant you could press the tone button and it would pop out and it would split the pickup, so it sounded more like a Stratocaster. Turqoise day stuff, there's a lot of space between things.
Definitely, it has that sound. I get it.
And in the Parazone, because there's two guitarists, I'm doing mostly vocals and I'm sort of interjecting some guitar here and there. One's the Les Paul, which is some of our songs are sort of more quiet and melodic, but some are like louder, like Warhol says, it's just a rock song in the vein of an Iggy Pop one or rock and roll. So that needs a lot more power. So I usually have it on like a treble setting.
Very cool.
So it's a bit more edgy.
And a Turqoise guitar for Turqoise days.
Exactly.
Is there a link there?
There isn't, no. I bought that off a friend of mine. This one's Nirvana sort of inspired, like a hybrid between a Jaguar and another guitar. So it's a Jagmaster.
That's just me making a link.
I know. But they're using the same bodies there anyway. So
I can tell.
It looks good anyway.
Yeah, you have a really nice.
It's got a very short neck as well.
Yeah, and I know the amplification. You got some absolutely classic.
Yeah, we only use valve amplification in the band. So and these ones, the Hughes and Kettner, as I've said to you, we bought those as an alternative to buying the Fender ones. Everyone has the Fender ones. And these have got like a warmer 70s sound.
They look great
and less glassy. They look good. They're like done in a sort of 60s style. They're called Statesman. This will give you an 80s sound as the chorus. A lot of people don't use it because it makes you sound very 80s. And I always tend to have the chorus on for some reason.
Even if it just widens, you have dial back, but it just widens the sound, doesn't it?
Yeah. Flanger is like very 80s as well.
TC Electronics. Maybe they should sponsor the video.
That's a new one thing that Kurt Cobain used, countless of other musicians. It's fairly standard.
I think if you're in a verse and you're just chugging away, and then you come up to a bridge or a chorus, it just gives you that widened sound.
That's right.
And it gives you a lift. It gives you somewhere to go and then back off again. Really. And last couple of questions, which are sort of the same answer sometimes. So I'll give you both the questions. You can answer it however you see appropriate. Best bit of advice you've been given, and then the best bit of advice you would give, and often that can be the same, isn't it?
I don't know, we dealt with Brian, I think we were playing some of our music in the 80s to Brian O'Flaherty, and I think with the Tonight version you've heard is like the original one we'd recorded, and he did suggest making it a bit more interesting, and there is another recording which hasn't been released, which I've got as well, which has a middle eight put in and a few other bits, so I think it's embellishing things sometimes as an idea. And also not going, like you say, for perfection always. I quite like it sometimes if there is a bit more gritty. And I was reading interviews with David Bowie where, the musicians were saying, I'd made a mistake here. And David Bowie said, no, just leave it, that's fine.
Yeah, that's been fascinating. Listen, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks a lot anyway. Thanks, Paul.
It's been so good to catch up and go through those bits and pieces. And let's slate the video there. If you can help me, let's just do that one last time.
Brilliant.
Done.
Done.